What's up guys, John from LinksWell here with another install video, and today we're going to be installing our brand new T-Style XL in this f-150. So why don't you guys go ahead and grab some tools, get yourself a 7mm, a little pry tool, and we will get this install cracking. Alright guys, that's right, I said we are installing our brand new T-Style XL. This thing is massive, 15.6 inch, got ourselves an on-screen multifunction knob, all kinds of cool things. Perhaps you've seen some of our preview videos that we've put out there letting you know what was coming. Well, now we're going to install one. So pretty simple install. If you guys have seen any of our other Ford installs, the removal of this dash is pretty basic. So you're going to do things as simple as just popping off this top tray. Now depending if you've got the center channel, if you do have a center channel, you'll have a little speaker grill up there, and you're going to want to pop that speaker grill off. There'll be two 7mm there, but that will pop off this top tray. And then once you've popped off this top tray, there'll be two more 7mm here holding this AC control bezel on. So you'll pull those off, which will snap this off. Be careful not to break those clips, because you're actually going to pull these clips off, put them into our new bezel. And then once you've pulled this off, you will see a screen and you will see a radio down here below, a radio chassis. So there'll be 6 7mm here holding the screen, and there'll be 4 holding the radio / CD player, depending if you've got the CD player. And you're going to want to pull those off too. So you'll pull the screen out, you'll pull the radio out, and then we'll have all of our plugs. So if you want to see a little bit more detailed one, you can watch one of my older install videos. I'm going to go blasting through this real quick so we can talk about plugs and get this video as short and quick as possible. So try and install as quick as me. Ready, set, go. And just like that, guys, we got our radio out, we got our screen out. A couple things to note before we move any further. At the back of your radio, look at the back of your radio chassis. If you have a blue mini USB, I need you to stop and make sure you got that Bang & Olufsen interface, because that means you have Bang & Olufsen, and you'll plug it in, it'll power on, but you will only get sound out of your tweeters. So if you have the mini blue USB here on the back, make sure that you get that Bang & Olufsen harness. And if you are working on a Super Duty that's 22 or newer, you're going to want to make sure you got the Super Duty harness, because the Super Duty changed power harnesses. It will not look like the standard harness. It's going to be small squares. And that one too, if it has the mini blue USB, you're going to want that Super Duty Bang & Olufsen. If it doesn't, then just the standard power harness. But those are the couple things you want to make notice of before you get too far in and you plug it in and then you call us all mad because you ain't got no sound. Mini blue USB means you got Bang & Olufsen. If you got Sony, no worries, it'll work without it. Cool? Sweet. Let's talk about this. All right guys, so let's look at some plugs right quick here. So one thing that is going to be completely different on the XL from any of the other generations is your factory switches. The factory switches that were mounted up here on top of the factory bezel actually now are going to move down here at the bottom. So just note, you're going to have to take this and you'll probably have to split this tape back here. Let me see if hopefully my camera can see that. But you're going to split some tape back here so that you can pull this harness down and have it come out of here, out of the bottom where the factory CD player was, because that's where your new switches are going to go. So notice that, that's going to be key. Also, you're going to want to just note the radio is going to kind of slide into this hole. So it kind of works better if you kind of pull the plugs out of one spot and not the other, just so things don't get in the way. But here is your factory screen plug. So there's going to be 2 different versions of the camera plug. So you're either going to have a 4-inch screen, like I believe it's pre-2019, and you'll have this small little 12-pin plug. So if you've got this, if this is the plug that came out of your factory screen, this is the RCA you need for the backup camera. Now I know there is a module right here behind your 4-inch screen that's going to have a plug just like this one. And I need you to hear me. Don't do that. It's the wrong plug. Don't unplug it. This plug or this plug will come from whatever was plugged into the screen, not a module. Screen, not a module. So if you got the big 54 pin, then you're going to use the big 54 pin. If you had the small 12 pin, you're going to use the small 12 pin. You will not use both. one or the other. Cool? Right on. So once you've done that, if you do by chance happen to have the big 54 pin and perhaps you've got the factory 360 camera that's touchscreen controlled, there are two versions. We talk about that on the website, but basically there will always be a physical button. One of them, you push the physical button, every time you push it, it will cycle camera images until it turns off. If that's your style 360, you don't need anything special. It's gonna work just the way it was. Now, if you've got the one where every time you push that button, then you use the touch screen and you tapped buttons on the touch screen, that one there, you're gonna need our 360 retention module, and that's gonna plug in here. So this little plug here is gonna jump from our main power harness here to give power to the 360 module, and then your 360 module will plug in here. This truck doesn't have it, so I can't show you how to install it, but I did want to give you that note. If you have that factory 360, that's what you're going to do. And then if by chance as well you are installing one of our multicam interfaces where you want to add extra cameras, that will plug into this as well. So you'll want to make sure you have all this plugged in the same as you would for a 360 interface, but with our multi-camera module. So this is where you're going to get your camera feed from, your factory camera feed. So again, guys, not a plug that necessarily looks like the 54 pin, but the one that comes off the screen. So a couple more things to talk about. Your AM/FM antenna, guys. This is one of the biggest things that we get calls about. Always going to be a big fat orange coax. Now, if you're a different vehicle, not a Ford, always find the biggest coax for the AM/FM. There will be, on certain cars, there'll be 3 or 4 antennas that actually will plug into our adapter, and they're not all AM/FM antennas. One of them will be XM, one of them will be satellite, one of them will be the tracking. And so you want to make sure you pull the one from down below where the radio was, and it's going to be the big fat one. That's going to be your FM plug. So this blue one here that came from the screen is actually for the navigation satellite. Now we do have about a 75% rate at this point where the factory one works. So if you want to try plugging the factory one in and not using our aftermarket one, the one that comes with our radio like this, you could totally give that a shot. Like I said, 75% of the times it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, it's really easy to install on this one, guys. Up here on the air vents, right here above this plastic panel is plenty of space for you to mount things. So this is actually where we will mount our navigation antenna. I'll go ahead and install it. So we're going to take the tape off. We're going to stick it up here on the air vent. It is also where we're going to mount our Wi-Fi antenna. So you can see this is for you to make sure that your Wi-Fi connection's good. And understand, without this, even if you don't plan on using Wi-Fi, it will affect CarPlay as well. So you want to make sure you install this antenna. Best thing for both of these guys, they can be under plastic, but you do not want them under metal. So that's the key. That's why up here on the air vent works great, because there's plastic but no metal. So we'll actually mount both of these guys up there. And then something that is super exciting, super cool for the new radios we have, it was something people asked for a lot, and that is built-in internet. So we've got built-in SIM cards now. I'll show you the SIM card in a minute, but you're also going to have these two antennas here. You can tell the difference from the Wi-Fi because they've got 2 different plugs. Now these guys are going to be very similar to Wi-Fi. You can mount them under the plastic, again, away from metal, but just know, if it's out in the open, you will just get better reception. So if you wanted to run them up, like up on the windshield, down the pillar or something like that, so that they're out in the air, you will get a little bit better service. We've got them underneath dashes in some of our test vehicles, and it's worked fine, but the bars tend to be a little low. So just know that if you want the best reception, the thing is to get these antennas out and high. But these are here. We might mount them under the dash. I haven't quite made my decision yet. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants right now. Okay, a couple other things that are just going to be basic like they have been. Purple plug right there is your toss link. So if you've got any of those high-end DSP amplifier things like one of ours, you can go toss link. There's your purple plug. Your gray plug for your auxiliary in, for your standard auxiliary in. Your green plug, this is just basically going to give you power for accessories. So a constant, a ground, and a switch wire. So if you were going to power up maybe a different camera, or you want to do something with a very low output, guys, it's low output. So don't think you're powering some like off-road lights with that. Please do not power off-road lights with that. You can power a switch to power your off-road lights, but not the whole lights. We've got our black plug, which is our camera input. So if you're not going to use our one of our multicams, we do give you 3 inputs. So you do have a front, a side, and a rear. So Depending on which adapter you use here, you will be plugging that into the one that's marked factory camera input. So the RCA that comes from our big locking plug will plug into that, and then that'll plug into the radio. We've got our two USB inputs. We have a white one and a red one, and we have our yellow RCA and microphone input. So I'll put on the screen here while I'm talking even just the locations where they all, throw a little picture up there so you guys can see the positions on the back of the radio. Genuinely, because it's really hard for me to show you while I'm plugging them in. So that picture, you guys should be seeing it right now because I'm really good at editing. It'll be right there. You'll be able to see where each plug is supposed to go into. And yeah, you should be rocking and rolling there. So that's the basics for the plug-ins. Of course, we've got our microphone. No, we do not retain the factory microphone. It is a long explanation as to why, but there is a reason. I promise it's not because we're lazy. But we do have this microphone. So you can do a couple things with this. You can pull like the factory microphone out and replace it, do a little custom work so it looks factory. Or the best workplace, honestly, is always up here on the A-pillar. You can just mount that, run it down the side, run it across the dash, it goes in, and bing, bang, boom, we are rocking and rolling. So that's our microphone, our main power plug. Like I mentioned earlier, there is your jumper to the, if you've got the 360 or multicam, and then there's also a jumper with an orange and a black that goes to the same plug from where the camera is for the factory USB port. Again, only if you've got the big screen coming. There is the white plug here. This is gonna go into your CAN box. You'll have a red box, and that's the thing that's gonna decode all of the data. And then, yep, your two plugs here coming off of where your factory radio was down here below. So, pretty self-explanatory as far as plugs go. You guys have seen the image on where the plugs are supposed to go on the back of the radio. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start getting things plugged in, and then we will talk for a second. I'll show you right quick here on the back of the radio. Hopefully I can get this in frame. You can see this little thing here. This right here, this beautiful little thing is your SIM card spot. So in your kit should be a small little adapter that I actually dropped. Give me 2 seconds, there it is. So this right here, so depending on where you're pulling your SIM card, if you're pulling your SIM card out of a phone, it's gonna be too small to fit in. So there is a small adapter. So hopefully you didn't get super zealous when you ripped open the box, so excited to install your new XL that you lost that. But if you actually are going down to your provider and you're gonna get a SIM card, a lot of them come with a couple different versions of pop-outs so you can get the right size. So, but we do have a little adapter in there for you in case you just already have one. So that's where that plugs into the back of that. And yeah, man, what do you guys say we get some things plugged in and then we'll talk about mounting it? Let's do it. All right, so we got everything all plugged in. Couple things to do just before is, like I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you go ahead and you pull off your orange clips from the factory bezel and put them onto the back of ours. They should be in the same spots. And then you want to make sure you pull off your factory switches up here and put them down in the bottom. And as I mentioned, make sure you run those switch plugs down. They need to go from up here to down there. But we got everything plugged in. I know it's kind of a spaghetti mess. That's what happens when you got a lot of plugs. Make sure you got your red CAN box plugged in. Again, make sure you have those two jumpers for the USB power and the camera module power. And I did not mention, my bad, on the mini USB that is plugged into the back of the factory screen. That is actually your factory hubs down here below. Now, I'll explain it on every video, I think. I explain it on every video. With CarPlay, it's really specific in how it works, and so we can never do CarPlay through the factory hubs. and Android Auto is quickly coming behind it as the phones get more and more techy. So just know that factory hub will work, but it's not going to do your phones. It's going to do things like USB drives or remotes, like I've got videos about doing video games if you want to use a video game remote, something along those lines. That hub will work for, but it's not going to do phone. But with this XL, really it's kind of not that big of a deal because we've got wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. So you just plug your phone into a power plug, which actually will charge faster than most CarPlay things because it's not data, it can do a quick charge. So it kind of works better anyways. Wirelessly, just, you know, a little bit more seamless anyways. But just so you know, if you're old school and you want to be able to plug your phone in, those factory hubs are not going to control your phone. They're going to do everything else but your phone. But that's what that is. Now, here's where I also probably should clarify again, for those of you with the 4-inch screen that you use that small 12-pin plug, you didn't have a USB plugged into your screen. That you will pull from the module that's behind the screen. So if you had the 4-inch screen that had the small one, again, don't pull off that big 54-pin plug, but do pull off that mini USB because that will be your factory USB port adapter. So that's what that is. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna pull these clips real quick. I'm gonna put the switches in, and then I'm gonna plug it all in. I'm not gonna stop while I plug it in. I'm not gonna come back until it's in again, because I've already shown you where the things plug in. I'm gonna have all my cords coming out of the top here. It just makes it a little bit easier when I'm plugging them in. You wanna make sure, again, that you don't forget the 2 AC plugs. In case you don't have AC, you gotta make sure you plug those in. But we're gonna go ahead, again, speed up video. I'm gonna get everything plugged in, back together, and then powered on, and then I'm going to use the HDMI output to cast for you guys, and we'll walk through real quick just how easy it is to program the HVAC once you're done. And then guys, you're done. You got a T-Style XL installed in your truck. So let's do that. All right, let's get these clips. All right, guys, we are in. Let's turn it on. So I'll let you know a couple things while this thing boots up. Some special things about the T-Style XL. One of the things we got asked a lot about was quick boot, and I'll tell the story because I feel like I need to. The problem with quick boot is it's only way we can really do a quick boot is a sleep timer. Now here's the problem with the sleep timer. Like your computer, if you just sleep it all the time and you never let it reboot, the RAM eventually and the cache usually gets caught up and chewed up, and then it slows down and eventually it crashes and you have to do a reboot. So for your computer, it's annoying. When it's in your car and there's a ton of data that is actually flowing through the radio, for a module inside your car while it's running to crash can cause major issues. So what would happen is you would go in and out of your truck for weeks on weeks on weeks, and the radio would never get a chance to reboot, and then just because technology is what it is, it would crash and it caused a bunch of issues. So we really fought hard not to do it. We tried to find products that would go faster in a boot up. But what we've done with this one, the XL and the 6, is we've created kind of a fail-safe within it. So basically, every, say, 15 or 20 times that you start it, it's gonna force a reboot. So what that's doing is just genuinely protecting you from your vehicle and your vehicle from having any kind of major failure from a processor crashing. So when you get in and out of your truck or your car, for the most part, it's gonna be quick boot, fast. But then there will be that one time you get in, it's gonna be a long boot. Don't freak out. That is the radio protecting you from having any kind of issues. But that's what's gonna happen. So that's a cool thing. I did talk about the SIM card. I'll do another video about how to add SIM and the cool features of that. But at this point, I wanna end this install video really quick, showing you how simple it really is for you to program the climate controls. So you can see it's our new UI, pretty cool, kind of adjustable, a little, yep, you can adjust all that. But the process is almost identical as our Generation 4 and Generation 5 radios. You're gonna go into settings. From settings, you're gonna hit the top right where it says System. First option is Settings Guide. And then right there it says Car Model AC. And it's gonna kick you to this page. Now, we have progressively made our programming easier and our updating easier, and this one actually is just even a little bit easier than Generation 5 because you don't even have to hit save and reboot. It's going to do it for you. So what you'll do is you'll select forward, F-150, low or high. Low meaning you just had single zone climate control like we had. High means you had dual climate, so you had two different temperature controls, not just fan and temp like we've got. You had dual temperature, so you would hit F-150 high. And then you have the options of other with Touch 360 or 2013. Obviously 2013 is going to be the old F-150. With Touch 360 is about that module I mentioned earlier, that if you had the factory 360 that you touch the screen on each time, that it would have to, that you'd need that module. That's telling the radio it's there so it knows to control it. But you'll do things as simple as select it, and you'll see it'll say select the year. We're going to say it's other, and then current, boom, hit OK, reboots, and now it should be set to go. Now, perhaps it gets rebooted and you're missing things like your seat heaters, seat coolers, steering wheel heater, stuff like that. There's a menu as soon as it boots back up. I'll show you that menu real quick where you can turn on seat heaters, seat coolers, as well as if you're running our multicam interface, you can go in there and I'll show you where to turn off the different inputs. So let's let it boot up real quick, and then we'll talk about those last details, and then I'm gonna say farewell after I show you those details. So let's see how long it takes to reboot. There it is, rebooted, cool. So settings, and we're gonna go back into system. We're gonna go back to settings guide, and you can see the first option there says seat and wheel. Here's where you'll go in here and you'll tell it what you had, whether you had a heated steering wheel, heated seats, cooled seats, turn on what you have, whatever you got. Camera switch. So here's where you have 360 and multi. If you've got that Touch 360, 360 should be on. Please make sure multi's off. If both of those are on, nothing works. I don't care if you have the 360 module or the multicam module. If you have multi and 360 on, the radio has no idea which one it's actually supposed to do, so it'll do nothing. So multicam means our multiple camera interface that's giving you extra things with on-screen controls. 360 means factory 360, not aftermarket 360. So if you have either one of those, make sure you turn those on. So if we were to turn on multicam, when we save and reboot, the next time we go in there, we'll actually have options where we can say, I have a front camera, I have a left camera, I have a right camera, whatever ones you want to have auto trigger, and then they will be there. But that's the ins and outs, man. That's the install on a T-Style XL. Hopefully my camera over here actually can get this whole thing in frame because it is massive, guys, 15.6 inch. I told you about this multifunction knob here. So on a normal, when it's just functioning, it's gonna do volume and mute. But if you swipe this bottom page, now you've got climate controls. They're right there. And now we're doing fan speed, push it in. Now we're adjusting temperature, all right there with that multi-screen knob. If you hit the climate icon, you'll get the full controls. Right there, you can turn things on and off, fan up and down, what vent you want. But that's pretty much the basics is that. Your home button, swipe upwards, guys, and you can go ahead and get to all of your other apps that you download. So depending on what apps you're after to download, when they download, they'll be there. But this is it, guys. Our new T-Style XL install, quick, easy, and man, does this change the whole look of your F-150. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep enjoying that tech.